it is up to us individually to make that investment in ourselves and go read books or go listen to YouTubes and this sort. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Rose, and if you're returning, thank you so much for your support. In today's video, I'm going to do a book review on a book called The White Coat Investor by Dr. Dahle. I recently recommended this book on my blog, and it has greatly helped my financial success. Of course, as you most likely know, I am not a doctor. However, I did think about becoming a doctor after I had received my bachelor's, and I did a lot of research on what it would take to pay off the loans to become a doctor, as well as how much doctors actually make. One of the favorite parts of this book that I like is that the author is extremely honest about how much debt doctors actually go in, and he's also super honest about how much doctors make. And this is something that helped my decision not to become a doctor, but the entire book, you don't have to be a doctor to read it. It provides financial advice that can be pretty much applied to anyone. And in this video, I will review some of the key things that I took away from it that you can too. So let's get started. The author very openly discusses the fact that doctors are not given a financial education. And what interested me about this is that most people are not given a financial education unless you have gone to get your MBA or you've done some sort of business school. You most likely don't have any financial education. However, even if you have gone to business school like I did, you may not have a personal financial education. And I think that that is what attracted me so much to this book. It reviews from a personal perspective. It also goes into the business aspect if you were to open your own practice, but it talks from a personal perspective what this looks like so that you can pay off any debt that you have, as well as make healthy investments, get your dream home, and then retire comfortably. The doctor that wrote this does go into the massive amount of loans and debt that doctors have to take out, most likely, in order to pay for their education and get through it. Not to mention that when a doctor is in his or her residency, they are making money, but it's not enough to cover all of their expenses, so they have to live really frugally. And this is something I think not many people know unless you personally know someone who is down this path. It also reflects what happens outside of becoming a doctor, I would say. I remember when I first graduated college, you're definitely living a different lifestyle. And it isn't until you have built up some wealth that there's some margin there that you feel like you can spend a little bit more easily, but even then, it's always wise to live frugally. The path to becoming a millionaire. And that's not everybody's goal, obviously, but I think that it is wise that he calls it out in the very beginning, because it's just a straight goal that you can set yourself. And if it feels too far off, then just keep reading the book, because I guarantee you he can convince you how to do this. And I also think that most people can, even if they are not making the income that a doctor makes. You should manage your money, not obsess over it. And this is something that I took away from this book. I used to be so careful with my money, and it was an obsession versus just managing it. Down to not getting any sort of drink or even sweet tea out when I was at a restaurant, and just being so tight with my money that I wasn't having much fun. And I think that that obsession can be really unhealthy, especially when you are working extremely hard to make your money. You want to enjoy it, but enjoy it responsibly. So this idea over managing versus obsessing was important to me. Being frugal and living below your means is an absolute necessity. This might seem super obvious to those of us that are frugal and live below our means, but to those that don't do this, or have no financial background, or feel like they're not good at math and things like this, or just have so many expenses that they can't keep up, it's not as obvious. And I think one of the things that is mentioned in the book also is keeping a spreadsheet of your finances, keeping a spreadsheet of how much you're spending, but also keeping a spreadsheet of what your goals are and how you're progressing to those goals. There's lots of apps that also help with this. I know I use mint.com, for example, to give me an overall financial picture, and then there are multiple banks that offer this service for free where you can budget and set your financial goals within your banking app. To choose your specialty wisely. The way I view this from an outsider's perspective, outside of the medical industry, is to choose your career wisely. He mentions being super honest with yourself about how you actually want to live, and therefore seeking something that will make you able to make that amount of money. And I think this is really wise. I don't think it's something that sometimes parents or loved ones want to tell us, but there are definitely certain careers that make more and make way less, and in some cases it is better to follow sort of your heart's desire. But being honest with yourself, sitting down with yourself and saying, how do I want to live? What does my lifestyle look like over the lifetime of my life? What do I want to be able to provide to future children? And those types of things are pieces of information you want to be super honest about. It's also great because in today's world with the internet, it is pretty straightforward to be able to find any sort of salary information on the internet. And not all of us want to become YouTubers or want to have a side hustle in order to make extra money. Some people just want their 9 to 5 and their regular lifestyle. And what that looks like when you combine it with how you want to live is that you might have to have a specific type of job, or you might have to work harder, and you might have to constantly advance in order to make the amount of money that will support the lifestyle you want. So considering this before you go to college maybe, or even after college when you're getting a master's degree, something like that would be super wise, and just a straight calculation will work out for this one. This book is also very practical in the sense that it discusses things like life insurance, 401ks, IRAs. It discusses investing in real estate, private investment, and these types of things. So it's not just a self-help type of book, but it also gives actual calculations and actual advice on specific types of investments that you can make, and that makes it all the better. Is to keep your portfolio diversified. I will say, however, that it is mentioned here that index funds are sort of the end-all be-all, so if you are not into investing, you just don't want to think about it, the author does advise to buy some index funds, which are sort of this very safe place to be that will help grow your money if you are not interested in all the different types of investments that there are. So he gives this perspective of diversify as much as possible, have as many different types of investments as possible in different places. But he also says, but if you're not into that, then use the index funds and you are guaranteed success. Alongside this very practical advice about having life insurance and 401ks and things like that, it also discusses the fact that we should use the low end of the estimate when we think about growing our investments. So when you have a pot of money and you put it into a certain brokerage account, or you even put it in a 401k, use the lower percentage as a realistic one, especially now. I think everybody's aware of the inflation rates that are happening, that it looks like we're in a recession and these types of things. So using that lower money will keep you from getting over exuberant about how fast your money might grow, and it will make you pleasantly surprised if by the time you retire you have grown extensively beyond that. To do your due diligence. So no matter where you're investing, who you're investing with, if you're buying a property or you're doing some private investing, to make sure to actually do your due diligence and look into what you're investing in with a fine-tooth comb before you do it. And this will make sure your money is in the right place. He says, of course, have insurance and do some estate planning. So once you start to grow this nest egg, if you will, especially once you have children and things like that, he recommends, of course, having life insurance and having insurance over like other types of insurance like umbrella insurance, but also to do estate planning so that your children can benefit from whatever you have saved up. Well, everyone, I will say that this book covers a little bit more topics that didn't really seem relevant to those of us that are not doctors. I'm not going to be starting my own practice anytime soon, so I would highly recommend that you take a look for yourself, see what you think, and if there's any investment tips that you didn't find here that you think are helpful, please comment down below. Thank you so much for watching, and please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. Thanks everyone. Bye.